All right, so Diablo 4 just dropped a massive expansion, the Lord of Hatred expansion, and my oh my, it is the perfect time to return to Diablo 4 or perhaps jump in for the first time. Now, this video is sponsored by Blizzard Entertainment, as they asked if I could do an overview of what this new expansion entails. And while I'm not required to give an opinion here, I like it a lot, and it's been well received across the player base as well. As always, I'll leave a link down below if you'd like to pick it up yourself, and also note that if you purchase the Lord of Hatred expansion, it does include the previous expansion, Vessel of Hatred, and that's where you'll get the Spiritborn class and also access to the Nahantu region. So really quick overview before we dive deeper. Lord of Hatred is a large expansion, and it does include its own campaign, which is a final reckoning against Mephisto, the prime evil of hatred. And the Lord of Hatred campaign does follow the events of Vessel of Hatred, the previous expansion, which you'll of course already have or you will have if you purchase the Lord of Hatred, and it's an epic conclusion to the campaign. This expansion takes place in a new region called Skavos, which is an ancient archipelago that features volcanic landscapes, dense forests, and sunken ruins. We get two new classes, the Paladin class and the Warlock. And I'll show those off here soon. There's a ton of new features and systems. The Horadric Cube, which is a fresh take on the iconic crafting system for advanced item manipulation. Talismans, which offer a new equipment slot dedicated to powerful set bonuses. We have fishing now, a non-combat activity found throughout the waterways of Sanctuary. We now have a new endgame system called War Plans, which offers a customizable endgame progression system where players will apply modifiers to their favorite activities to target rewards. And of course, the Echoing Hatred system, which is a new Horde-style endgame mode where you'll test out your builds against unending demonic waves. Now we also have a loot filter option, highly requested QOL update to help streamline gear discovery. There's a major skill tree rework, which includes new skill variants for every class to increase build variety. So if you come into this, it's going to feel different regardless if you play one of the new classes or not. And the level cap has increased to level 70 to allow for more character progression and power scaling. Let's dive a little deeper now, starting with the campaign. So the campaign took me around 11 hours or so to complete. I did up the difficulty a little bit because I enjoy a little extra challenge when I'm experiencing new content, but I think it'll take most players between 8 to 15 hours or so to complete. Now, it's important to note that you can jump right into the Lord of Hatred campaign with a brand new character. You don't have to be a certain level or have played, previous content. You can just go right into it right after character creation right here. So you can see I created a brand new Paladin here, and I just click on change campaign state, and we go right into Lord of Hatred. And they do give you a little bit of a story recap of what happened before if you didn't play the previous expansion. Also note that when you complete the Lord of Hatred campaign with one character, you don't have to do it on other characters. You can skip the campaign and go right to endgame content. This is your typical Diablo style campaign in that you have dialogue, there's some side quests, there's of course story cinematics, which I want to add were a ton of fun in this one. I enjoyed it so much, especially in the second half of the campaign. I don't want to spoil anything, but the story idea behind the campaign is that Mephisto's power is stirring once again. This guy right here, and he is a crazy, crazy character in the lore, and if you don't stop him, basically it's ruined for all of mankind and other species too. You're going to see some returning characters, of course, that are connected to the main campaign as well as the previous expansion campaign, and there's some moments, man. There really is. It gets quite emotional in some parts. I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm not going to say anything, but man, there's a couple holy crap moments. The campaign will also have you exploring all the new various regions on the new Skavos map, which you can see right here. And along the way, you'll of course be able to do plenty of those optional open world activities, etc. There's plenty of big bad bosses in the campaign and also just in the new region, a few of which were quite the spectacle of combat encounters, I gotta say. Highly recommend playing this one through to the end. And then when you complete the campaign with a character, it unlocks the end game and all the new systems that come with that, with the Lord of Hatred expansion. And of course, with subsequent characters, you don't have to play through the campaign again if you don't want to, but I'm probably going to. It was a lot of fun. Campaign alone, worth it in my opinion. I love Diablo campaigns, and this one pulled through big time. Let's talk about war plans now, which offer a guided path that will help move you through a variety of endgame activities in Diablo, and it gives you rewards for completing the plan. So war plans will encourage and also reward mixing up endgame content. So before this expansion, you may have just, felt like you wanted to just grind one endgame activity, such as the pit, over and over and over again. And while you can still do that, at times it might be more appealing to actually follow a war plan and do some variety endgame content. Not to mention, it's much less overwhelming. It kind of streamlines the endgame content. If you're a new player and you get to endgame, you don't really know how to handle it, this will get you guided on a right path here. So if we are in the town of 𝑠u𝑝𝑝 and we go over to the war plans command table, this will bring up the war plans interface. On the left here, we have the actual war plans. On the right are the new skill trees that are associated with war plans. Now, the first thing you'll notice is that I'm rank 1 out of 10 for war plans. The higher you get this rank, you start at 0 actually, but the higher you get this rank, the more rows and columns are going to be available, so you can do larger war plans, with better and more loot and rewards and all that good stuff. And actually, on the screen right now, I'll have a video pop up from the official Diablo channel where you can see a much higher war plan rank here, and there's just so many more choices, and it's much longer. But if I'm ready to take on a war plan, and do note that when you take one on, you can still do whatever you want endgame. You don't have to follow the war plan. When you're ready to do a war plan, what you have to do is you have to choose how you want the plan to play out. So right here, I have to choose where I want it to start. We have Purge the Curse at Undercity and then Helltide Harvest, both different endgame activities. So you choose what you actually want. So let's say I choose Helltide Harvest, and then that'll bring us to the middle right here where I don't actually have a choice, but this is a Purge the Curse at Undercity endgame activity. And then we can go left or right here. Both of these are actually nightmare dungeons because there's RNG as to how these war plans play out. And you'll also notice the rewards for completing each specific activity here. So when I do this nightmare dungeon, or whatever nightmare dungeon I end up getting, I'll get a small amount of spoils, but also 25 activity experience. And each of the activities right here will give you activity experience. And you'll see that you can spend the activity experience over here on the new skill trees, and depending on what activity you're doing the most of with the war plans, for example, I've done a few nightmare dungeons for the most part. You can see that I actually have 1 skill point available to spend on the nightmare dungeon skill tree. So we have a skill tree for the Tree of Whispers, nightmare dungeons, Helltides, the Undercity, lair bosses, infernal hordes, and also the pit. But I have 1 point to spend here, and what this is going to do is it's going to basically alter and change the game to hopefully my benefit, because I'm going to choose what I actually want to do here. For example, if I put my 1 point right here into Dread Revival, bosses in nightmare dungeons will have a chance to revive when slain, which means double the loot if that happens. So this permanently changes the actual game. It's pretty cool, and it makes endgame much more exciting. When I've chosen my plans here, obviously it's fairly simple when I'm only at rank 1. We click on start, and then it's so easy to just teleport to, let me pull up my controller here because I've been doing mostly on controller. But if I just click on the map here, you can see in the bottom left it says Helltide Harvest, which is the first part of my war plan. I just hold down right trigger, it's going to teleport me right to that Helltide, and I can just get going on endgame content. And after you complete the full war plan, you go back to the table where the NPC is, talk to the NPC, get a bunch of good loot and good stuff. And of course, along the way, you are earning, activity experience for the particular endgame activities that you are doing, as well as any other rewards that comes with it. The Horadric Cube, which I'm coming up to here in the town of 𝑠u𝑝𝑝 in Lord of Hatred, is an endgame crafting station that you unlock after you complete the campaign. You can see it right here. And the Horadric Cube allows players to transmute, modify, and upgrade gear, runes, and charms. It's kind of a comprehensive tool that allows you to, perfect builds. If you're at that point, you can add and re-roll affixes, you can create legendaries from rares, stuff like that. So if I show you guys an example here, let's just take these boots right here and drop them into the Horadric Cube. I have all these options of things that I can do to the boots here. If I have the required materials, we can add an affix, we can do a chaotic reroll, a focused reroll, we can remove an affix, we have some transmutation options, etc. And if we take a look at the boots right now, you can see I have a willpower boost, fortified generation affix, and a dodge chance. But if we click add affix, it will pull in the required materials that you'll gather when you're out and about. And if I click transmute, these boots now have that extra affix of a +7 life on kill. A lot of cool things you can do with the Horadric Cube right here. Really play around with things. I can also upgrade it to a legendary, so let's just do that really quick. And now you can see it went from a yellow to an orange. Moving on to talismans, which add a lot of build potential in this game. So when you find yourself an item called a seal, what you do is you slot it into the center slot right here. I have a Horadric seal, and depending on the seal that you have and its rarity, it will unlock a certain amount of charm slots. So this one right here unlocks 3 charm slots, and you can see that I have 3 slots right here with the other 3 that are currently locked. If I put on my seal that is a much higher rarity here, now you'll notice that 5 of the charm slots are unlocked here. Now the interesting thing with the charms here, outside of just charms being pretty cool and adding a bunch of cool stuff to your character, a bunch of affixes, etc., resistances, there's all different types of charms. There's also charms that allow for build sets. So the green ones that you see right here, they're part of a set of charms. As you can see right here, this is the Phobia of Practice Technique. It's a set charm. And once I find all 3 pieces of this, I get all those extra set bonuses right there. The 5% attack speed, the movement speed, the gold find, and all that good stuff. So I'll be hunting, you know, to try to find a full charm set here to add to get so many more affixes and extra bonuses to my character. How about the new classes? So the Warlock class is the class I've spent the most time with on Lord of Hatred. I'm really enjoying this class. It's a very demonic class. You have a lot of little demon summons as well as some pretty large demon summons like this one right here. I love this skill so much. It absolutely shreds opponents. Look at it right there. There's actually another variant of that skill where I can actually control the demon which way he swings and have him do like a sword downswing in a particular area if I wanted to target one specific enemy. Really cool. But I also have my favorite attack is called Dread Claws. Absolutely shreds through opponents. Let me just see if I can pull a few opponents here and kind of go through my little routine that I have right here. So we'll back up. I'm going to drop a demon wall to stop them. Then I'm going to put down a fire turret, start burning them. Then we're going to Dread Claw and just shred them. Then I'm going to teleport over here. If I want to teleport back, I can go into my little nether hole right there. Of course, I'm choosing to use these particular skills, and there's so many other skills that I can replace them with. I'll let you guys discover those on your own, but there's a lot of different ways that you can play the Warlock. This is just my personal favorite right now. I just can't get over this demon right here. I love this guy. The Warlock's also interesting because it has 2 resources that it has to pull from to cast certain skills. So if I use Dread Claws here, you can see that purplish red draining right next to my webcam, and that is called Wrath. And I can regenerate Wrath quicker by using certain skills too to get it back a little bit quicker. But Dread Claws drains it pretty fast. And then that dark bluish purple liquid that you see there, or gas, whatever it would be considered, is called Dominance. And some of my more powerful skills, such as the Demon Wall, will use up Dominance. And other skills like this Demon are just on a cooldown. And then, of course, we have the Mighty Paladin class, which, you know, you can do sword and board or two-handed sword. And there's all sorts of different Paladin skills that you can get into. Some that are focused more on having a spear. Like, you don't actually have to have a spear yourself, but the magical ability is a spear. Like this one right here. Very good piercing attack. Then I also have that spear attack. And then there's a bunch of paladin buffs and rallies and defensive buffs that you can do. So you up yourself as well as your party members. If you have people playing with you, up their defense values. Then I have this basic attack right here that's actually pretty powerful. And then a hammer that will swirl around my body and just absolutely wreck mobs. I'm only level 8 with this paladin, I believe, so I haven't even unlocked the level 13 skills yet, but I'm loving it so far and I can't wait to see where this goes. We'll go ahead and just activate that hammer. Just kind of goes around getting them. We'll do that. Taunt everything. Very different feel from the Warlock, but I am loving it. I can't wait to see where this goes with the Paladin. I think it's going to be crazy with all the hammers that you can have flying around your character. Paladins use up a resource called Faith, which you can see filling up there, that yellow sphere. Let me just show you guys the Blessed Shield skill real quick, because I love this one. I love how it looks. You can get this ricocheting off of a ton of different opponents. A lot of cool Paladin skills. We can't forget, of course, that Lord of Hatred introduces fishing into Diablo 4. Not something I ever expected to see, but I'm here for it. Uh-oh, we got some guys attacking me here. Fishing is a non-combat activity. It's supposed to be done in peace and relaxing, but in this area that I'm doing it in, it's not very relaxing. But I'm going to go ahead and pull up my emote wheel here and cast a fishing line in this little body of water. And as soon as I get a bite here, going to press one of the buttons here on the skill tree. There we go. And pull that fish up. Oh my gosh. Sometimes it's a relaxing activity. Now, the main point of fishing is that you can get a bunch of different type of fish. And if you check your challenges in this game, you'll actually see that there's a whole fishing category here where you can try to find different types of fish. And there are fish that are much more rare than other fish, such as legendary fish. And I've even heard of people pulling up monsters like I just did, but actually like super rare monsters, which is pretty cool. And then you can sell the fish to vendors for some gold if you want to, or just, you know, focus on completing this challenge here for achievements and all that stuff. And sometimes it's just nice just to cast a line in the water. You know, Diablo is such a demonic game. Sometimes it's nice to just kick it back and see what you catch, relax a little bit. Come on, baby, what do we got? All right, I caught an old hatchet and a silver belly. And if we go into my inventory, we actually have a category right here where all the fish are being kept. You can see I have a legendary fish and then a bunch of other fish as well. Now, the Echoing Hatred endgame system, I don't have my own footage here. This is from the Diablo YouTube channel. Because to do an Echoing Hatred, you actually need to acquire a really rare item called the Trace of Echoes. Once you get a Trace of Echoes, you then can do an Echoing Hatred, which, like I mentioned earlier in the video, lets you take on endless waves of increasingly difficult enemies. You try to get as far as you can in an Echoing Hatred, and the further that you make it, the better the loot is, etc. And the Echoing Hatreds are really good for testing builds, you know, to see how far you can get, and then if you do it again with a slightly different build to see if it's a little bit easier to allow you to get even further. Really good for that, and also of course for the drops. I think that's probably good for the systems that need a deeper dive, but don't forget the skill trees have been reworked for all of the classes. So if you're not even playing Paladin or Warlock and you're coming back, there's still a lot of stuff to look into, different variants of skills, etc. We have a map overlay now that you can bring up while running around, which is of course great to have. And the level cap is of course 70. Now there's one more system actually that I will show you some gameplay of here. I'll bring you into the game for, and that is the new loot filter system. So if you go into your options, you go under gameplay options and scroll down, open loot filter, we now have loot filter options, and we can create a new loot filter, or we can import a loot filter, and then you can add up to 25 rules, which is pretty sweet. And then you can add conditions for each of the rules. So, you know, for example, if you don't want common gear to show for your character, you can make it to where it's not even visible at all. So if you kill an opponent that drops nothing but common gear, nothing's even going to show while you're in the dungeons. Just they're not going to see anything because you turned it off. Or you can have it so where common gear will show, but you have to manually pick it up. It won't auto pick it up. So many different things you can do here with the loot filter. So pretty awesome that they added this. Overall, really enjoying the Lord of Hatred expansion. If you want to check it out yourself, I'll have a link down below in the pinned comment as well as in the video description. Man, a few of those moments in the campaign I don't think I'm going to be forgetting for a while. Thank you to Blizzard Entertainment for sponsoring this video, and I'll catch you all on the next one.